Hi everyone, my name is Old Gamer Joe, co-founder of Media Moogle. Media Moogle is dedicated to bringing video games, game music, and indie games and developers the love and recognition that they deserve. Free yourself from the shackles of mainstream gaming coverage and check out some of our wonderful content at MediaMoogle.net. It's time to say goodbye to the echo chamber and join us on this wonderful campaign to give the voiceless ones in this industry a voice again. MediaMoogle.net for all of our content, or YouTube.com/MediaMoogle to check out some of our great video coverage. Onward, our work has only just begun.
What's up, Tutorinos? Welcome back to the Game Addicts podcast. I'm Brando. Welcome back to the show. This week is a little bit different, though, guys. If you haven't noticed by the name of the show, or the name of the episode, I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm giving you guys a really cool sneak peek at a completely different show that I'm doing over with Jeremy Evans from the In-Game Boss program and podcast. Now, I was over there. I was a guest on the In-Game Boss podcast back in July of last year. Me and Mike were on there. We had a lot of fun chatting with Jeremy and Jerron. But back then, he hit me up with an idea, man. He hit me up with a whole new podcast idea that he was thinking of doing, and he hit me up with it right around the holidays, right around the New Year's. Like, hey man, remember that idea I hit you up on? I kind of want to start that up. Are you cool to still do that? I said, absolutely. What is that show called? It is called the World Gaming Trade Show. And what is the World Gaming Trade Show? Well, it's a podcast where me and Jeremy sit down, and it's almost done like the old trade shows, like those antique trade shows, like from like PBS, kind of. That's kind of like the theme of it. But what we're doing is just a little bit different, because what we do is we end up taking like one or two, or well, no, it's about 2 or 3 games, or franchises that have been long dormant or even dead, and we contemplate what it would be like to bring these games or franchises back, and what developers we would like to see take their hand at bringing these games into the modern era, whether it's keeping it traditional and just doing a very faithful remake or reboot, or maybe even changing it up completely. And so we are going to be doing that show like once a month. And it's going to be coming out right about the end of every month. And the show is going to be exclusive over on the In-Game Boss program network. And how to get there, I'm going to have a link down below for all of you guys to go check out the entire feed and all the other podcasts he's got going on over there. You can go, if you're on the GameAddictsPodcast.com, I put a link, a big image. It'll say EGB, In-Game Boss Program. You can click on that. So the link down below or on the website, you can go check out the channel where he's got the In-Game Boss podcast. He's got a show called When Jeremy Met Nam. And then, of course, now joining the lineup is this World Gaming Trade Show with me joining in and helping him out with that. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. We've done this episode. We've done one more. And this episode's going to air here just to let you guys know what's up. Give you guys a little sneak peek. That way you guys can see what's going on. And then, of course, I encourage each and every one of you to go over and subscribe to the In-Game Boss program feed today. That way you guys never miss another episode of this show, and of course all the other great stuff that he's got going on over there. So without further ado, I'm going to get out of here, guys, and I hope you guys have a great show, and I hope you guys enjoy what we brought to you here this week, and I'll see you guys next week with another regular episode. So please, guys, sit back and enjoy what we've got to bring forward to you with this new show, the World Gaming Trade Show.
Welcome to the World Gaming Trade Show. I am your host, Jeremy Evans, as part of the In-Game Boss podcast and the network called the In-Game Boss program. But this is not just my show, it's a collaboration, because with me is from the people from, or now solo, from the Game Addicts podcast. And you introduce yourself as?
I'm Brando. What's up, guys? I'm so glad to be doing this new type of venture here, this new show. With my good buddy Jeremy here, and it's really cool. It's really freaking cool, because you hit me up with this almost 6 months ago now, with this cool of an idea, to come together and to do this neat little show. And you know what? I'm just happy to be a part of it, and I'm happy to be doing like a good collaboration with you. And why don't we just go ahead and let our listeners know exactly what we're going to be doing here?
Okay, so the way this show works is, as you know, we will discuss a couple of games for this episode, 2 games, and the way it works is we talk about games that kind of been hiatus, or we haven't seen another entry, or just haven't heard from it for a very long time. So the way it works is we actually talk about developers that we would like to see take that game or whatever and see what could they do with it, you know, adding an entry or a reboot or remade or, you know, whatever. And so Brennan and I will come up with our own picks of the game that we chose. So in the first round here, the first pick will be my pick, and then in the second pick will be his. But during those picks, I will tell him what developers I like to see do it, one, basically, and he picks a developer that he would like to see do it. And we'll discuss how the game would look like, or how it would play, how it would do, you know, all the nicks and crannies about that kind of stuff. So it's very exciting. I did this idea back at my old show called the Gamers Den Podcast, and I love the idea of all gamers talk about, like, man, I wish such and such would make this game instead of such and such, because they don't do anything with it anymore. And that gave me the great idea to do that on my show, but I wanted to expand on it and make it a show itself. And after you were on, Brandon was on my show, the In-Game Boss Podcast, I feel like there was a good connection there, and then I just hit him up with the idea, like you said, 6 months ago, and then I'm glad that we're finally getting this going for 2020. And so, Brandon, anything you want to add to this?
Just again that I'm excited to be doing it. When you hit me back up with it, I think it was like right after Christmas. Like, hey man, you remember that idea? Do you want to go back to that? I'm like, yeah, let's do it, man. Let's kick it into the new year and let's bring out something new for people to get into, because this is something that, you know, like we all do this at some point, man. When we're sitting there talking with our buds, as we're talking about games, some of our favorite games. It's like, oh, dude, I wish they would make a new one of those or new whatever. But to sit there and actually sit back and discuss it, and maybe even throw some cool little kinks with some different developers and what kind of styles they can bring into it. I think that's pretty neat.
I agree. So with that, the way this works is, let me go ahead and give y'all the first game as part of our trade show. So the first game coming through is an old Sega game that a lot of people probably remember from it, but I remember this game being hard as hell. And Brandon played it too. It's called Comic Zone. And Comic Zone was a very unique game for Sega, because Sega was still on the bus of, you know, the Sonic games, a bunch of the shoot 'em up kind of games, like, you know, like the Shuffs games, like the oh man, there was a lot of games. They were more Sega's always been the arcade games. They were always arcade style and doing that, and always tried to do something new and fresh, especially going against Nintendo at the time. So when we got this game, Comic Zone, that was developed by Sega Technical Institute, they were founded in 1991, but they got defunct about 1996, about 5 years. But they were known for games like Dick Tracy, Kid Chameleon, Sonic 2, helping out with Sonic Team, Sonic Spinball, Sonic 3, Die Hard Arcade, and then the cancel game for the Sega Saturn, Sonic Extreme. So Comic Zone is an interesting game because it is a story about a guy named like Sketch Turner, and he's a starving artist and a musician and all this stuff. And you know, he wrote a comic book, and it was basically a story about the New World Empire attempting to defend these Earth from the invasion of alien renegades. And basically, he kind of like overslept writing it, and then a thunderstorm came, and lightning hit, and one of the monsters from it, like the king of the monsters over there named Mortis, came in, and he wanted to take over the world of Earth, but he realized being in that reality, like, he doesn't have any powers. So what does he do? He puts Sketch Turner into the comic book and tries to destroy him. So Sketch is trying to get through the comic, you know, trying to escape. But on the way, he has to fight aliens, and he has a rat friend named Roadkill and all this stuff. So, Brandon, I remember this game being really challenging because I can only get as far as level 3, because the game is not only like fighting, it's also kind of like a puzzle style too. Like, you know, you're getting sent to every piece of comic strip, like page by page, trying to figure out how to get to the next thing, either through enemies or trying to get out of a trap or something like that. I remember too that the artwork to this day looks really phenomenal right now. So what's your thoughts about Comic Zone?
Dude, I absolutely love the game, and I agree with you. It's challenging. I remember that being so hard when I was a kid, and I mean, even to this day, when I last played it, probably a couple years ago, after I actually bought it and added it to my collection, you know, I'm like, oh, I remember this game. You know, this game was hard, and I plugged it in, and it is still pretty challenging, you know, to get through. And man, the art style for this game is completely unique for its time. I mean, as you said, it still kind of holds up to this day, and it just kind of goes to show you that, like, you know, that old sprite style of graphical style is you know, it really holds up throughout the years. Whereas like when we started getting into that early 3D, it doesn't really hold up as well. But man, that stuff, man, they made it look like a comic book come to life with you moving through the panels and up and down. It wasn't just like a straight, you know, like this is a beat 'em up style of game, but you're not going straight across and where it's like, okay, now you turn the page, you're going up, down, left, just like you said, almost kind of like a puzzle-ish type way to get through the levels. And it was challenging too, like, and the fighting in a way, I don't know, man, it felt pretty smooth to me, but also still like frustrating.
Yeah, have you noticed too, what I like about it is the fact that like you actually see the person draw the enemies like right in front of you. I really like the idea, and I also like the idea of when you beat them up, they come off like a wad of paper, or a bunch of paper being ripped up. Yeah. Like they're like a real comic is. And then I like the part that he has the ability to like rip certain pages. Well, kind of strip up a page or a scene. And what he will do is he will like make like a paper airplane and like throw it and all that stuff. So you can use that to get out of situations. I remember what's so hard about that game was like how to like outdo the fans. The fans were hard as hell. I did not like the fans. And the other thing too was the fact that like you had to like destroy certain things, but you know that you get hurt if you get near them. Like you can easily get hurt on anything in that game, and any special moves that you have, you actually lose a little bit of your life. And then also too, I like the fact that I think you get the max of 3 items you can pick up. So you can pick up your rat friend Roadkill. You can pick up potions. You can pick up stuff that you can use to help you go against other bad guys. And then at the end, sometimes you'll have a little like mini fight, like a bunch of enemies will just come at you like a horde or something. You have to fight your way to it. I remember too that for a sketch artist person, he knew a lot of martial arts because he knew like the super high kick, uppercut. It's almost like they took a little bit from Mortal Kombat's fighting and implemented in that. So I thought that was very interesting how they did that, because this game came out in 1995. And I remember Mortal Kombat was coming, I think, around like 93, I want to say. Yeah.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, it came out in 1995, and we haven't seen it in a very, very long time. It's been over like 2 decades.
Yeah, I want to say they did. Was that game on the Genesis Classic that just kind of got released?
Yeah, it's always been in the collection, but Sega never ever like went back to touch it.
Yeah,
it's really interesting. So it's time for us to decide what developers that we the talkers think that they should look into next. Now, in a way, the way I was looking at it, the way we pick developers, we're talking about developers that could possibly do it. Per se, like for instance, like I wouldn't pick somebody from like Nintendo to come do it, because Nintendo would never produce another game like that. You know what I mean? So like I would pick or you could pick somebody from the in-house of Sega, or you could pick a third party. You know, this stuff that like, you know, they could work with those developers and maybe bring this back some sort of way. And Sega has done that before. I mean, they work with Platinum, they do Bayonetta. Sega worked with a lot of developers for some of their properties. So for my pick for this one, I picked the developers. As of right now, I consider them the king of indie games right now, and that's Devolver Digital. And, you know, they're known for, like, My Friend Pedro, the new arts classic game coming out that won at the VGA's Game on Impact, Gris. You're looking at Katana Zero. You're looking at The Messenger, the game that's kind of like Ninja Gaiden. You're looking at Hotline Miami, and you're looking at Broforce. So they're really like fun and goofy and off the wall kind of games that I like, and I think Comic Zone is a great pick for that for them to do, because I think they can get way more creative with that. Now, I would definitely keep the game 2D. I would keep it stage style just the way it is, but I would have like power-ups on the way on the journey. So like, you know, at the end of each stage, he kind of like poses like he's a superhero and stuff like that. We saw it's like a little glimpse for a second, but like on the way there, like on his journey, he should learn new power-ups, like, maybe like shooting powers or something, or better muscles. Like, see him growing as the journey goes, as he might be fighting bosses, like maybe at the end and stuff. Improve the fighting style. Like, fighting style's there, but I want to see a little bit more fighting, like, let's do some wrestling moves in there, like, pile drive, or, actually like throw them, like, just really cool styles to really put that in there. Now, when it comes to difficulty in the puzzles, I think they can think a little bit more outside the box, really making fun of themselves, because that's what Digital Devolver likes doing. They like making fun of themselves when they do these kind of games. If you look at my friend Pedro, I mean, he's a ballet gunslinger. Every move he makes is like a really work of art, and it's supposed to be funny. So I would love to see Comic Zone do something like that. And even he can be doing something like he can grab a guy and fold him up. I mean, he's made out of paper, so
right.
you can do creative ideas like that. You can definitely like kick him into another scene. You can definitely like set traps where like they're coming up and it'll like rip the bottom of a scene, and he could fall through into another scene. That's a way for you to get down there. Like, I like that idea. And then maybe another idea is like, maybe you can choose what route you want to go. Now, Comic Zone, they kind of force you to go to the next scene, but maybe they can give you different routes to get to the end, maybe two ways. Like, maybe you want to go down this time instead of going right, and see where that takes you and give you a different like replay value. So when you play again, like, maybe I'll take this route instead, So that's kind of my vision of I would like to see Comic Zone be. And maybe like, upgrade the artwork a little bit. It still looks great, but they can, with the digital, like, the technology we have now, you can make it way more smooth at the transition and really make it more popping and colorful. Hell, you can even make the backgrounds a little bit more fun. But my favorite part of all this is I would love the bad guy to get more creative when he draws stuff. Like, yes, he draws bad guys and everything like that, but he could draw funny stuff to make it a little bit creative. Maybe that, like, he can draw something that can mess up the page, or draw something that can merge two pages together. I don't know. But it'd be just fun for that villain to get really funny and creative, where it kind of caught you off guard. Like, did he just draw that? He looked like he just freestyled that. Like, what? And so, Brendan, what's your take on that?
All right, so just for a second, I want to go back to what you said earlier about how before its time this game was, because a lot of the things that you said about like rolling the enemies up into the paper, and then you're ripping the paper, it's stuff. I mean, this was 95 when this came out.
Right.
I mean, it blows my mind. But and your pick, definitely a great pick, and I'm kind of like ashamed I didn't think of it, because you're right. Like their sense of humor is just right on the money. But so it kind of makes me feel like I was thinking almost like too literal. Like I'm like thinking, I'm like, okay, who could actually make this game, a good fighter, like a good beat 'em up style, and maybe maybe change it up just a tad, not a lot, but the team that I came up with was Drinkbox Studios, and
okay,
they're the team that made Guacamelee.
That's a good developer.
And so, like, like when I thought of like a modern day Comic Zone, and I think about how Guacamelee, if you guys don't know, Guacamelee is almost kind of like a Metroidvania beat 'em up, where you actually have to go, you have these big sprawling levels, just like in a Metroidvania-ish, where you can't get to certain spots until you get certain power-ups or items or whatever, and you've got to use your abilities to be able to jump, go through portals, and get, it's platforming that's almost just as like annoying as you can imagine. But I'm thinking about how graphically stylized those games are, both Guacamelee 1 and 2, and just how smooth they are with the combat and everything. And just like you said, adding all these different combos, all these different moves. Like I can just imagine them taking like the engine or something that they've already built for like a game like Guacamelee, and just bringing it down into those like into those comic strips, and just making it flow with that. To me, that I was like, man, that's a no-brainer right from the get-go, because I'm just thinking about because from all the different transitions from getting in Guacamelee, him doing, you got to jump, bounce off walls, come up, do this, and you got to do this his little uppercut move to be able to go into this portal, to be able to jump over here, and it gets ridiculous. But then I'm thinking, like, man, that kind of reminds me a little bit of how you traverse in Comic Zone by just like moving across the panels and doing different things. And I just think they would be a great fit for that.
So would you like to see Comic Zone as a Metroidvania? Would that be an idea that you would like to see?
I think it would be pretty neat because I think you could do it in a style to where it's still constrictive into a comic book where, you know, you don't have like, Guacamelee. It actually feels bigger than what it is just for being a 2D side scroller. But like, so you wouldn't have endless pages up and down, but you would go to other spots and okay, so I got this item. Now I got to go back 5 pages. So in a way, it's almost kind of like a choose your own adventure. I don't know if you remember those books. But
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
Like go back to page 6. Like, oh, okay. That might be a cool little twist to put in there.
Yeah, it'd be really cool because the fact that like with Guacamelee or any Metroidvania game, you have a spot where you can buy upgrades and whatnot. Because in the Comic Zone game, you had a woman that was like a general leading the resistance. She could be one of those people to do that. And when you go to different sections, like you got to get a certain power up to get to the next area or something like that. That could be something where he can get to the next like page. He has to get a certain item so he can access to the next page or something. I don't know what item that would be, but that would be really creative with that. Even when you draw the map, they can still be white lines.
Sure.
So like when he's going through stuff, he can just leap over and get to the next section, and that'll be another block of something like that. The wall jumping idea, that can be kind of cool, where like even his upgrades, like he can like maybe throw some paper up there that got him stacking up, or maybe something where the villain tried to do something to try to get him, but he didn't erase that stuff, so that became an item where he can climb up and do something with it. No, that's a really good idea too. I love Metroidvania Metroidvania games, and for that, I think that's a very clever idea. Now, Drinkbox, what I like about them too is their game is very very comic book like, if you really think about it. Even when they're running, like I love the way they run and everything like that. Now I never got a chance to play the second one.
I haven't either. I have the first one on the Vita, and I think also on the PS4. Maybe because they did the original one and then they did like an update, Super Turbo Championship Edition. Just like the old Street Fighters, right?
Yeah. And so with that, I would think that's a really good idea too. Like I really love that idea because I think that's the best way to get him back in, and also is the best way for people to kind of get use of who Sketch is, And the cool part about it too is, wouldn't it be cool if the villain Mortis like kind of freestyle what he would like to see going next in the comic? Like, as you're trying to go to the page, you don't know what's going to happen next, and he's drawing it all out while you're trying to deal with this or something like that. I don't know. Just throwing up an idea like that. But I think I want to know, what will we do with Roadkill, the rat? Like, what can we do with that character? Because, he's a main piece of this comic. So what is your ideas for Roadkill? Would you use him as more of like an upgrade, or help him like get certain items that he can't get? Kind of like
idea.
when Guacamelee was a chicken. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe you can use him as some sort of combo, like use him within the fighting, like where like there's certain moves where you actually throw him out and that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's like, I like your idea about being able, because like if you remember, like in Metroid, there are certain areas that you can't get to until you can get into it and turn into a little ball. But
right.
Like you can't get to this item until you get like Roadkill, and like flop, and then he can climb up and grab it. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add? Are you good?
I think that's about it for that one, man.
Okay. Awesome. So that is our pick for the developers that we would like to see do Comic Zone. But as you know, as you're listening to the show, we would love to hear your suggestions. So remember, you can always email me at theingameoffice@gmail.com, or we'll have it posted on my page and Brandon's page. Now, Brandon, where can they find you on your email, or where can they find you?
Email is gameaddictspodcast@gmail.com. Of course, you can also find us on Twitter at GameAddictsPlay, where I'll be sharing and posting this episode as well, and you guys can comment along on there. So, that's right about where you can find us. We have a Facebook page too, same thing, Game Addicts Play.
Okay, awesome, and we're the same thing as In-Game Boss Program on Twitter and Facebook. So make sure you type out the whole thing, and you will find us there. But this is only the end of the first round. We're gonna get ready for the second round. So enjoy our break, and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, this is Brando, and I'm the host of the Game Addicts podcast, a show where I cover the latest news in gaming and take a look back on some of gaming's best consoles, series, and games. With over 3 years of episodes in the back catalog, there's plenty of great episodes to sink your teeth into. So check out GameAddictsPodcast.com or download us on your favorite podcast platform. Into live streams? Head over to twitch.tv/GameAddictsPlay for Let's Plays and to chat along with the podcast during the live recording. Still want more? Subscribe to our YouTube channel for your one-stop shop for everything we do. So what are you waiting for? It's time to level up and check out the Game Addicts Podcast.
Hey, this is the network creator Jeremy Evans, and I want to say thank you for listening to this episode of the show as part of the In-Game Boss program. And if you enjoy this, then you should definitely check out all our other great content we have on this network. Remember, you can always follow, subscribe, leave a comment, or concerns because we would love to hear your thoughts. And lastly, enjoy the rest of the show. And welcome back to the second round of the World Gaming Trade Show. I'm Jeremy. This is Brendan. Let's get straight into the next one. So this next one we're going to be talking about is a classic game that actually cost $16 million to make at the time for the PS1. It was a game that, Brandon, you're welcome to agree or disagree. This was the game that was supposed to be the next big thing since Final Fantasy VII. Because Final Fantasy VII was a huge game on the PlayStation, but this next game was supposed to be the next big thing. I don't know if you would call it the Final Fantasy VII killer or whatever, but this game is very long. The game is very beautiful, and we'll get a little bit more into that. But, Brandon, what do you go ahead and introduce this game to our listeners?
So this game came out in the year 2000 in North America, June 13th, and it's called The Legend of Dragoon. And if anybody knows, like, man, that PS1 era of the late 90s, just like you said, it started with Final Fantasy VII. It became an RPG haven where you saw a slew of them come out from all different kinds of companies, and this was one of them. And this was made in-house from Sony at Sony Japan Studio. Of course, they are also known for making games like Shadow of the Colossus, Eco, and so like it's funny if you go down their ranks of games that they've developed, this is the odd one out.
Yeah,
where this is like the only JRPG, and of course, as you said, it took like millions of dollars to make this. Was like 16, and it was in development for like 3 to 4 years. It took a long time to make this game, and headed by, and I'm just gonna completely slaughter this dude's name.
Do you?
My bad. Yasuyuki Hasebe was the director, and acting as producer, I can actually say his name because this guy is well known within the Sony camp. Shuhei Yoshida was still in the company, and it was a big part of this game as well. And no, as you said, this game was kind of developed to be like the answer to Final Fantasy VII. Square was doing its thing, and it came out. And Final Fantasy VII was a beast of a game that just opened up so many different people to the realm of RPGs, myself included. It was my very first one for JRPG.
Wait, that was your very first RPG game?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
FF7. Yeah, FF7 was my favorite,
Okay.
or my first and my favorite still to this day. But from there, it was just like I couldn't get enough. I had to play the next Final Fantasy, and I had to play Parasite Eve. I had to play Xenogears. And then I got my hands on this little game. Finally, and man, this has been the only game in this. It's not even a series. It's one solo game. There's never been a remake. There's never been a reboot. There's never been the only ports have been bringing the original PS1 version to the PSN store for like the PS3 and PSP and Vita.
Yep.
So if you have any of those, you can get it there for like $10, or wait till a sale if they still do sales on those old.
They do
on those old things.
They do.
But it's definitely worth it. Legend of Dragoon, as I said before, it is a JRPG, but it's a little bit different too because it actually does like input commands when you go to attack. Like with the main character Dart, when you go to attack with like a special move, you actually have to do like a quick time event where you actually have to press X twice to do a double slash. And I remember he'll just like. It has voiceover work, which sounds terrible, which is par for the course.
That's what I noticed when I was looking at some videos of it. I was like, woo! Thank God the game is pretty.
Right? Yeah. Oh no, the game looks beautiful for its time, man. Especially when you think about like when Final Fantasy VII was one of the first 3D RPGs, and it blocky is being kind to that game. Like it looks rough, but it was also, like as you said, the first. But this one, no, it looks really pretty. The quick time events here, it goes from for other characters. You actually have to work on your timing. It can be a little frustrating to get down. But if you don't get it, it's not like he won't attack. That's just almost like you're getting like a big buffer, or like you're getting like a ×2 or whatever.
Kind of like Paper Mario for other people that want to better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like great comparison right there. We're really close to that. But this game is long. This game's longer than Paper Mario. But one of the reasons why this game is on 4 discs. It's on 4. It's because they actually use a lot of full motion video for some of the bigger events. Okay. And of course, back then, dude, you'd be playing your game and you're like, "Oh, cool! I get to see this cool action, this action video." And then, of course, all the characters look badass, especially with all that Dragoon armor that they have. And that's another thing to say here too, is that like, what's so special about this game? Well, each character can actually get a special transformation called their Dragoon, and it's different colors. Dart is red, if I remember right. There's another character, Lavitz. Lavitz is green. One character is white or pink, or one's purple. One guy's blue. Some Kongo guy. I remember Kongo, big old brute barbarian dude. I want to say he was orange or something, but man, no, the game was long. It was an epic story, and to try and even begin to think about where we would come now, because it's a different playing ground now as far as RPGs. A lot of RPGs have now shifted into a more Western style, more action oriented. Even the remake of Final Fantasy VII that's coming out it's done away with the turn based. It's kind of there with selecting your actions, but it's more Kingdom Hearts based with the attacks.
I noticed that with Final Fantasy, I don't know, this is a theory of mine, I feel like that they wanted to get to this point, but they just didn't have the capability to do it, because we seen them do turn based to more active turn based, and then when we started seeing 13, we saw more of like action with the buttons that we pressed. Then we saw 15 really pushing into that. So I'm really seeing this is the direction they really were going for now since Kingdom Hearts. So,
but there is also a great resurgence of just that classic turn-based or RPGs. I mean, just look at some of the stuff that's come out from Square on the 3DS and on the Switch. I'm looking at Bravely Default, Octopath Traveler, great games. And then, of course, one of the biggest, more recent games that have come out. It came out for the PS4, Persona 5.
Yep.
And I don't think anybody expected that game to do as well as it did. And playing that game is super stylized. It is turn-based, but it's almost in such a pace that it doesn't feel like it's too turn-based.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to get into it, about who I think would develop this game and do a really good job, man, see, like I said, Atlas for Persona 5. That's who I almost went with.
Okay.
Because of how good. I love Persona 4. Persona 5 wasn't quite there for me. I liked it a lot. But if anything, I love the transition screens. I love how flashy it was. It was great. You can save inside a dungeon.
Yes.
That was my favorite part. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have to sit here and do 10 floors of Persona 4 dungeons all over again.
Yes.
Or if I want to quit and I need to do. That's why I love playing on the Vita. I could just put it on standby and go do something else and come back to it. So I almost said Atlas because they're on fire right now and they're doing a great job. But I almost thought that that wouldn't be fair to them because they do their thing and they do their style, and maybe the anime style-ish would work for this. It definitely would look pretty. But then I instantly thought of a really good company that makes RPGs, that have been making RPGs for years, and they have a really good working relationship with Sony, including the developers of this game. They've actually teamed up with them quite a bit throughout the years, and I'm talking about Level 5.
I was thinking about them too. Yeah.
Yeah, Level 5, just to put a few out there, of course, they did Dark Cloud. They've done Ni no Kuni. They've worked with the Nintendo on Yokai Watch. They actually developed Dragon Quest 8 and 9 with Square Enix. They've also done Rogue Galaxy for the PS2.
One
with
of my
Sony.
favorites.
They've done,
One of my favorites.
Yeah. Jeanne d'Arc, which is like a more tactics style. That one's on the PSP. They did White Knight Chronicles. They even did like Professor Layton and the Unknown, like all kinds of stuff with that. All over the place.
They dipped
man.
in like
And
almost in every genre if you really think about it.
I know, and they're all over the board. They work with both Sony and Nintendo, so they're not completely exclusive, but they do have exclusive titles to certain, like systems. And I think bringing them on board, especially since they've already worked with the main company that originally made, made Legend of Dragoon, and I don't even know if anybody is still there who worked on Dragoon, or if that's all. Everybody's kind of moved on. But since they started the IP, I think it would be neat if they still had some working relationship with the company that was going to come in, or like the devs that were going to come in and put their spin on it and completely redo it. Because that's what I would like to see for this one. I would like to see a remake for today.
Okay,
but still with that, I still am saying I would like that turn-based style because I think there's a market for it. And like as you said, Square's kind of been working towards this kind of action RPG. It's more palatable over here in the West, in the North Americas, and it's becoming more standard too across other genres. But I think that with the influx of that, there's still a market to be had for those turn-based RPGs, especially when you see the successes, as I said, of Octopath, of Bravely Default, of the Personas, and I just think Level 5 would kill it.
Yeah. What's interesting about Dragoon compared to Final Fantasy VII at the time is, no matter what the sprites look like, the backgrounds are always the ones that stand out more. And when I was looking at Legend of Dragoon, I couldn't get past the fact that, like, these backgrounds is just so freaking gorgeous. And even when I go back to Final Fantasy, VII, like, the backgrounds are still gorgeous. So it's interesting that, like, honestly, Dragoon is one of those games where I think you could slap Final Fantasy on there and people will just believe it. It's almost
right?
It's almost similar to that per se. One of the things too that stand out to me, I heard, and you can vouch for this, was like some of their super moves as Dragoons. They're very time consuming. If I'm correct, like one move could take a little bit of time, and everything like that. It's almost like everything was more of like a spectacle, like a cutscene of great moments, that every move that you make and everything like that. So I like how Level 5 does it because Ni no Kuni 2 that I recently played, I would have loved to see that a little bit, that kind of animation to it, but not heavy on it, just more in that direction. I like Persona, but I don't think I want to see that as Persona. I like to see it more in the Ni no Kuni kind of, like Studio Ghibli would probably be cool just to see what they can do with it. That'd be kind of cool.
It would be.
But for my pick, I picked a company that, it's funny because when I looked them up, I realized I didn't know this until I put it all together, but they're known for using a lot of dragons in their games. Like a lot of dragons. Like dragons has been like most of their things. So the people I decided to go with was Capcom. Capcom uses a lot of dragons. You have Breath of Fire series. You have the Monster Hunters. You have Dragon Dogma. They even made like an arcade Dungeons and Dragon game. So like dragons is kind of their thing. And basically, when I look at them, I'm like, I can see them do that kind of stuff because they have done games with QuickTime events, and I know they could. And they have done Breath of Fire. So it's basically Breath of Fire Deluxe, if you want to go that far, right? And I think that'd be really cool to see what they can do with it. Plus, they are phenomenal when it comes to like designs of these monsters. So I think they would be great designers of these characters, the overworld, and all that kind of stuff. I definitely would not make it like the Monster Hunter style, like just like active like that. I think it should still be turn based, but the quick time events should be a little bit more improved. I noticed from each player they're trying really hard to make everything too different, basically make them more offbeat, so you really pay attention. Yeah. But that becomes kind of tedious. I think it needs to be more of either like they are set on a button, like one person's triangle only, one person's circle only, maybe one person's only square only. But like, let's not make it too complicated because you got to remember, we're going to be doing these battles over and over and over again. So we don't really want to do that. Or you could make it active, but when you're about to do a super move, then that goes into a quick time event. You can do that too. So basically you could do it kind of like the new Final Fantasy VII remake where, it's active and then you're about to do a super move, go to your quick time events. And then maybe if you do a good job, maybe you can go to a super move or something like that. When you turn into, I think, to the Dragoon, now you tell me, what is the biggest difference as a Dragoon compared to just you being normal? Like, what is the big difference?
Well, you get the attack boost, and then you get a different set of like special moves, and you only get to use it for a short time. So it's kind of like almost, I don't know if limit break, like from the Final Fantasy series, is the really right term for it. But yeah, no, you can only use it for like 3 turns or something like that.
I would like to see, as you turn to Dragoon, you get a different weapon with it, like a different, like a special weapon that goes with your Dragoon suit. But then when you don't have it, you got like your normal sword or whatever you have. It kind of makes it make it more unique in its own way, and just new, cooler moves that you can do that. Now, my original pick before this one was actually going to be Monolith Soft, but they're owned by Nintendo, so what's going to happen? The only reason I picked them, because they're the only ones that have done games where you switch between human and another thing, especially for them as mechs. So they're good at that transition, switching back and forth, but since owning Nintendo, and this is strictly a Sony game, it was never going to work. So Capcom was the developers, I think, fit that very, very well, and I just think they can make the world just so beautiful. After seeing Monster Hunter for the PS4, it's just like, they can make this game freaking beautiful. They could. Yeah, what's your take on it?
I agree with you with that, man. They could do they could do wonders with that, because like you were saying, those older games, like your late '90s Final Fantasy, and then this game, the one thing that made those backgrounds pop is that for the time they were kind of like pre-rendered backgrounds, and then the characters would be the polygons on top of that. So bringing it forward, they still look good, but a lot of them, like a lot of the remasters I've seen with playing the especially Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 remasters, they haven't gone through the trouble of up-resing the backgrounds. They up-res the character models, and they look great, especially with the new Final Fantasy 8 when the remaster, they actually redid the character models entirely. But it definitely makes the backgrounds look a little blurry. For that. But man, just thinking about what Capcom could do with the environment, because if there's one thing that really pops out to me, other than the combat, other than the transformations, and making that unique to this game compared to some other ones that were out at the time, man, there's a lot of really cool locations to go to, and it really took you away to another world, another fantasy place where it wasn't anything like that you were seeing before, and I think they could do a great job with that.
Yeah, and another thing too is I missed their Breath of Fire series. So if this is close to them to give us a little bit of taste, even if it's Legend Dragoon, I'm fine with that. And I also agree it needs to be a remake, because it's been gone for so long. We need to just start from the beginning. And after beating that game, is there a possibility for a sequel of that? And if there is, would it be like a Final Fantasy style? Would you just do a new story with a new cast?
See, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like,
is that a tough decision right there?
It is. It is, because of course, like when you love any certain game, especially a game that is a single entry, like this, or like even some of the Final Fantasy games that we said before, your mind's always like, man, what's next for these characters?
Right.
What's going to happen next? And sometimes that's not really the game, like to go forward. Like originally for when they when they added on to Final Fantasy 7, like the next story was they did a movie.
Right.
And then they did, here's a game before 7, and so they added some stuff there, did a different thing. So maybe the story with these characters isn't exactly like a full-fledged sequel, but I think and maybe some people won't like to hear this. I would actually want to give the developers free reign to kind of change up the story, and do their own thing, to where maybe you could actually make room for a sequel with these characters, or you could also do this kind of route. Did you ever play the game Chrono Trigger?
Oh yes.
Okay, so when they did Chrono Cross, Chrono Cross, it is a sequel to Trigger. It's set in the same world.
Okay.
But you don't play as any of the characters that you played as in Trigger, and it's entirely its own. Chrono Trigger is a time travel story, and Cross definitely, it's its own thing.
Right. Would you like some of those characters to like make a return to be with a new like protagonist at all, or maybe take one of those characters and make him lead the next story going on? What would you like to see those characters?
That would be kind of neat too, because you could definitely do the first story with the cast that you have, and I'm not sure. Like it's been 15 years now.
Yeah.
So I could say that Lavitz dies.
Mm-hmm.
It gets replaced with Prince Albert. That's hilarious. His name is Prince Albert.
Yeah.
But like you could definitely do something where you bring in a new protagonist and then some of the other guys kind of join in. I think that'd be neat.
Yeah, because like the Dragoons are very selective, right? So the next person that gets selected, they got to kind of be somewhere connected to the other Dragoons somehow, instead of just like throwing them off. And so I think that if they decide to bring this back, I think they need to try to see if this does enough to continue this voyage. 'Cause I think people are missing something new instead of just the traditional, here comes another Final Fantasy game. Here's your traditional RPGs. Like, it's time for something fresh. And this is a chance for this game to make a return and flourish, especially like with where we're at our consoles now. This is a chance to just get a new facelift.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially with the new consoles that are coming out that have this SSD built in, you can do a lot bigger open. You can even do some open world stuff with this, and especially like if you had like that, Capcom making those big open beautiful worlds like you have on Monster Hunter, it'd be crazy. Mm-hmm. But to be able to like, because like also like playing like a big open crazy world like Xenoblade Chronicles X. I don't know if you ever played that.
Yeah, I have played mostly all the Xeno games. I love the Xeno series from Saga to Blade. Yeah.
Okay. So like playing that was like, wow, it's almost too overwhelming.
Yeah.
With how big the world seems.
Yeah.
But like you could definitely do something like that with this and make it like you could even do some cool stuff with the Dragoons because the combat can definitely be a little restricting with just using that form. It's like, all right, I have my form, I have wings. Now I'm going to stand in the same spot with my wings and wait to attack you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could kind of use that for some open world traversal too.
Yes.
Using your wings and you use those to kind of get around.
Yeah, especially like maybe there's certain areas that only a character has the ability to like open up to a new area. Yeah. All the Dragoons are unique in their own way. And so that's another way to really have the characters have some more moments in the game itself instead of like standby waiting for their turn, So okay. Well, is there anything else you want to add before we kind of close this show up?
I could just see this game. Let's just pretend it was in development for a couple of years already. Mm-hmm. That's been under wraps. And then you just spring it up at like a conference somewhere. I get memories of when they announced the FF7 remake, and then like 5 minutes later, Shenmue 3, and people are losing their minds. Like, maybe this game isn't quite there. Maybe it doesn't have quite that cult following as like a Shenmue that would really get them going. But if you're able to wow them with a really cool trailer to remind people, like, oh crap, this is Dragoon.
Yeah.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Like, and then it's something that has been gone for so long that whatever you do is gonna feel fresh.
Yes, especially if they make it like where you're kind of guessing, is it not, is it kind of, I like those kind of teas where you're kind of like guessing like, no, this must be a new game or something like that. Then it is like, oh crap, they improved. Woo.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, because I remember like when Square did that FF7 when you're like, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold up.
Right.
And then they did that reveal of where you see Cloud with the Buster Sword, like, oh
yes,
all right,
yes,
so like, to do something like that where like you're like wait a minute, okay, so is this Monster Hunter? No, all right, wait, dude, this Dart.
Yeah,
red armor with the anime hair, and he's got his sword, like, oh cool. Then you just see the wings, like, wow, man.
I would love to see it like they're in the middle of a big battle, and then you see them sprout the Dragoon suit, and then that's where it kind of starts picking up a little bit, followed by the signature, we slash the screen and then it says Dragoon or something like that.
Double slash.
Yeah. So I would love to see this game and play it. I do want to go play the classic one so I can just get familiar with it. But if they ever bring out a new one, now is a good time because a lot of people would really go into this because, there's not a lot of big out of nowhere RPG games that are being announced. We're getting used to our regular schedule RPGs, our Personas, our Final Fantasies, all those stuff. And so, yeah. Okay, well, if nothing else you got to add, I'm going to go ahead and close the show up. So thank you so much for enjoying the World Gaming Trade Show. We enjoy your listening ears, but remember, we have plenty of more games to put on the show floor for you. So each month we will have a new episode out. Because we got to get our stuff set up and get ready to give you a great show. But before we go, once again, this is a collaboration with Game Addict Podcast and the In-Game Boss Podcast. So remember to look out both of our shows. We are both on Podbean. We are both on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. And I will have links to all of our shows on there, so you can definitely click and go into those. And, man, if you love it, come listen to our personal shows. And while you're there, follow and subscribe. We would love to hear your opinions. We would love to have your support as we go down this road. And, Brandon, where else can they find you at one more time?
Yeah, you guys can check us out on Twitter and on Facebook at Game Addicts Play. I also do live streams over on twitch.tv/Game Addicts Play, and you can also check out our YouTube channel. Just search Game Addicts Podcast. You'll find us. Help us grow that, because that way we can get our own URL, and I don't have to keep telling people to search it. They can just type it. But,
yes.
But I've been doing some gameplay over there. I've been trying to get back into it. I kind of fell back off when I had a kid, so I've been trying to, get some time, sneak away for a little bit, come back.
Adult life sucks.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? It do, but man, I love these kids. They're my
Right.
life, man. I love them to death. But that's like a one-stop shop, because you're going to get some video podcasts, you're going to get some live stream game stuff, and then I do plan on streaming and putting up on the YouTube channel right when I'm going to do the whole playthrough of FF7. Like the remake. I got to do it, dude. That's my game. That's my game. I'm so excited for it. I'm going to do it, and I want to share it. So it's going to be hard, because sitting back here at it's not really how I like to play. Sometimes I like to be able to like in my recliner in the living room, or right in my chair back here. It's I'm more relaxed. And I haven't seen that. I've actually thought about making up the relaxed casual streamer, where I'm in my recliner, the camera's set up in a certain way, and then of course everybody can see me in all my glory while I'm sitting there just going mouth open. Because let's face it, guys, not all of us can see ourselves when we're playing games like we can when we're streaming, and we're like, oh crap, I look kind of like an idiot right now. I better stand up. I better straighten up the, okay, now let's look in here and let's converse with the audience. No. I'm sitting here, I'm just zoned out. Mouth open, tongue. Maybe do a little scratch or something.
They'll let you know in the comment box.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But guys, check us out. Check out Game Addicts Podcast and all those places. GameAddictsPodcast.com. You can find that. That's the web, the Podbean website.
All right.
So,
and as part of the In-Game Boss program, remember, we have wonderful shows on our network, so definitely check those out. We will have all the shows posted that you can actually go to the page, and we have all my shows posted on the page itself. Now, remember, on Twitter, you can type in @ProgramIn or the In-Game Boss program and find all our shows on there, and Facebook and whatnot. Once again, we'll have links to both of our shows so you can show your support and whatnot. But we'll definitely have announcements for our next games that we'll be talking about in the month after and the month before. So definitely check us out. And with that, thank you so much. Love the show. We'll see you next time.